Hey Bookaholics, it's Isabel and welcome to another video. So today I'm going to be doing my January reading wrap up. I have only read 4 books this month, but I think that's a pretty good accomplishment since I had moved this month and I am doing projects every day, so like I'm busy. But I still got some books done this month and I am currently reading one book right now that I'm really excited about. So I'm going to talk about the 4 books I read and the one I'm currently reading. So let's get right into it. So the first book I read this month is Hunting Prince Dracula by Kerri Maniscalco. So this book is the second book in the Stalking Jack the Ripper series. I was really excited to read this one, but I've been having a hard time getting into it. I read Stalking Jack the Ripper, loved it, so much fun, and then I had got all of the books in the series and then I never actually got around to reading the second book. I tried picking it up a few times by reading it physically and I just never really got into it, so I finally decided let's try the audiobook. So I got the audiobook on Overdrive and I finally finished it, but I don't know if it's because of the audiobook or if it was just a storyline, but I never really got sucked into it and I didn't enjoy it as much as Stalking Jack the Ripper. I don't know, it just wasn't as compelling and it wasn't as interesting as the first one. I don't know, maybe because I'm not quite interested in the Dracula story. I really like the Stalking Jack the Rippers because Jack the Ripper was an actual killer and is actually a mystery, and I was really interested to find out who this person was, and the reveal was very surprising. But this one didn't really surprise me. This one didn't really interest me as much, so I'm going to read the other ones, but I'm not as interested in it as I was. But still, I absolutely loved Audrey Rose and Thomas. Their dynamic was still flawless in here. I really enjoyed their interactions and their banter, and it was still so much fun for that. This book I ended up giving it a 3 out of 5 stars. Still a good book, but wasn't as good as the first one. The next book I read was Circe by Madeline Miller. So this one I really did enjoy. I didn't like it as much as The Song of Achilles. The Song of Achilles was a masterpiece. I absolutely loved it. I loved the dynamic between Achilles and Pat. This one, I really enjoyed the story. It's very character driven. There's always something going on, but it's not like a plot kind of thing. It's like one thing happens in this chapter, another thing happens in this chapter, another thing happens in this chapter kind of thing. So it's not like a plot, it's more of a character driven story where we follow Circe as she deals with all these different issues that come up with her family, her love interests, and everything. And I still really enjoyed it. It was very fun to follow her character and I really enjoyed seeing her perspective. Like, I felt terrible for her. Like, she is probably one of the most sympathetic characters that I've ever read because, like, she just goes through so much. She is born and pretty much after her birth just everything was going against her. Her mom didn't see her in like any good light because her father predicted that she wouldn't be anything special. So she was never anything special. People weren't giving her any kind of love at all, and she really had to fight for it, and usually it ended up not in her favor. So I really enjoyed following this character. I still really enjoyed it and it was a really fun book to follow, and I really enjoy Greek stories, so I really enjoyed this. I ended up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. I've been seeing this book around booktube for a while and I never really was planning on reading it. I've seen it at bookstores, never bought it. I don't know why. But I finally read this as an audiobook and I really enjoyed Chloe's character. She was a very interesting character to follow. She is someone who has chronic pain, pretty much everything, and she has been living her life with her grandparent and her parents for most of her life, and she finally just like, okay, enough. I'm gonna live out on my own, I'm gonna have my own adventures, and I'm going to figure out my life. She's gonna get a life. So she moves into this new condo or apartment, and the person who is like the supervisor or something they kind of have like a back and forth kind of banter that turns more sexual as the book goes, and it's just a really fun book and I really enjoyed this. It was interesting and a really good book, and I will definitely be checking out the second book and the third book that's coming out this year. This book I ended up giving a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It was still enjoyable, I really loved it, but it wasn't anything like masterpiece or anything. It was just a really great romantic book. The last book I read in January was The Chanel Sisters by Judithe Little. I had seen that it had come out recently, and I don't actually know much about the Chanels or their history, but I decided, why not? Sounds like an interesting book. So I picked it up, and I actually really enjoyed this. So it wasn't like the most compelling story, but I still really enjoyed following all the sisters and seeing where their story took them. We follow Gabrielle Chanel, the whole family, like Coco Chanel, Gabrielle Chanel, all of them. They start in this orphanage, and they're told all the time they won't end up much. They'll either be just seamstress or married to a really not good person, or like all that. They were just like told that they wouldn't have a very good life. So they decide, no, this is not okay. We're going to get ourselves a life and we're going to be successful. So it just kind of follows the Chanel sisters as they slowly but surely get a better life, as in Coco Chanel kind of life. And it's just like a rags to riches kind of story, and I really enjoyed following Gabrielle and seeing her journey, and it was just a really good book to read, and it's very historical fiction. I don't know too much about the Chanel sister. I kind of am interested in learning about their past now, and I've read other reviews that it's just like it takes from the history and then adds what we don't know. I'm really interested to actually learn about the Chanel sisters and find out what actually happened with them and see what the story really took out of this and what they took liberty of. But yeah, I ended up giving this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I would highly recommend. It's very good and I really enjoyed it. And the book I'm currently reading is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. Finally picked this one up after years of owning it, and I'm really enjoying it. I've only got up to page 68, so I'm slowly getting through it. I'm really loving the writing. I'm not quite into the plot yet, but I see where it's kind of going, and I'm waiting. I'm like really excited to get into the really deep part of it and see where it goes and what really goes into this. So haven't gotten too far into it, but I'm really excited to dive right into everything in here, especially when we get to know how the circus is built, how it started, and just what it actually is. So yeah, I'm really excited to finish this one. Alright, so those are the 4 books I read this month and the 1 book I'm currently reading. I'm hoping you guys enjoyed this. Let me know your thoughts down below if you've read any of these books or if you're wanting to. Subscribe if you have not yet, and I will see you guys for next video. Bye!